All right. Hi, Celebrate Recovery family. This is Simon. I'm a grateful believer in Jesus, and I celebrate recovery and pornography and compulsive eating, people pleasing tendencies, anxieties, and lots of other stuff. I know we're in kind of a brave new world here where we're not necessarily getting together in person for Celebrate Recovery for a while. We all pray that that's a temporary thing, but we are in a position where we're beginning to launch some virtual Celebrate Recovery meetings with the blessing of the national leadership of CR. I'm so excited to do that. So, one of the things that we're seeking to do in this time is to bring you some fresh content. It won't necessarily be CR teachings or CR testimonies, but just some things that really are applicable to recovery. And to help me do that today, I have a good friend of our ministry here at First Orlando, Samir. Welcome, Samir.
Hey guys, how's everyone doing?
All right. As you can see, we're on a Zoom call, and if you're a part of our groups upcoming, this is exactly the technology we're going to be using to have our meetings. You're going to sense that in this room, I'm in one of the bedrooms of my house, so there's nobody else in the room with me, and we're going to have to do that when we have our meetings because that's just a part of kind of keeping things safe. And you'll notice I'm wearing a headset too. May look a little goofy, but I'm a tech nerd. I'll admit. But anyway, so Samir and I are going to be talking about a topic today that I think is very important during this time. I try to limit my time watching the news during this season of this coronavirus thing, but one of the terms I've heard come up a lot is this term of self-isolation or self-quarantine. And I know for any of us in the recovery community, isolation can be a really bad thing. So Samir, what are your thoughts on that and maybe some ways that we can not be isolated during this time?
Right. Well, it's good to see you, Simon, at least virtually once again. And some of the things isolation is a hallmark of habits, addiction. It likes for the person to be isolated, to be apart from other people because it hides well. So with technology like the one we're using right here with Simon's help is the best way. And right now that I feel we can still be connected, we can still talk recovery and not necessarily put anyone at risk. So this is one of the ways.
Yeah. And, before we started to record this conversation, Samir and I were just talking and catching up a little bit. And, Samir and I have both been a part of this community for a while. And there's others of us that have been around for a long time, but some of you are new. So, what is it that maybe holds us back sometimes, Samir, from reaching out when we are in a position where we might need some help? And what are some things that maybe we need to be looking out for as we're in this season?
Right. So some of the main things that I feel that are very important during this season is to not allow yourself to be in a position where hopelessness sets in, because hopelessness is terrible. I always say pain you can have, but being miserable is optional. And it really is, especially those of us who have Jesus, because we have to trust that the same God that has taken us through all this time, in spite of all the other things that have occurred, is the same God that's going to work now. And actually, God works even better during situations that are dramatic. We can really see his hand move. So our faith would be the number one thing, our trust in Jesus Christ, not only for ourselves, but for the families and the people we love and the people we don't know. Also, at the same time, reading the Celebrate Recovery literature is paramount. I mean, you really can't beat that, especially with the Recovery Bible. And if you're in that on a daily basis, it doesn't have to be, 30 minutes, an hour. You can just start with 10, 15 minutes on a daily basis. Just, open up the Bible, read some scripture, maybe work on a step now that you have a more time. It's a great time to get back to step work and maybe share with your sponsor or a mentor or whoever it is that's working with you. Through a venue like this. So there's a lot of things that you can use constructively if we choose to.
Yeah, and I really appreciate you saying that because there are a lot of tools that we have available. We've got the Celebrate Recovery Bible, and if you don't have a physical copy of that, that is available on Amazon and other things. So that's all digital, that's all out there. If you are in a step study right now, then you can obviously continue doing work on your step study, and I think your step study leaders will tell you how they're deciding to meet. Some of them are doing just what we're doing now, but if you're not in a step study, there's no reason that you couldn't begin that work with a sponsor and accountability partner or even a counselor as you're working through some of these things. All of us in the Celebrate Recovery community are here because we've acknowledged that we're not God over things, and we've acknowledged there is a God that cares about us. That's principle too, and that he has all the power in the world to help, and beyond the world, because he made it, to help us change in all the places that we've struggled. So, I want to just take this moment to highlight the fact that Samir is a counselor and is available during this time. He's actually made a great offer for all of us in the Celebrate Recovery community. He's available virtually in a format similar to this, and I think he's going to give us a 40% discount. And I think if you're ever in a position where you say, hey, I've identified something that I really need some support and wisdom and guidance to walk through, Samir's been there for a lot of us in the Celebrate Recovery community over the years, continues to be just a gifted individual in that area. So just want to encourage you to do that. But Samir, what are some of the warning signs if we're in a situation where maybe we're alone, and we're not connected to other people daily? What are some of the warning signs we need to be looking out for? Maybe one or two things we can do to help avoid a relapse from happening.
Right. Well, there's a lot of things, thank God, that we can do. And a lot of times, Simon, sometimes what happens is the disease, this habit, this stronghold, whatever we want to call it, but we know it's dark and evil. That's the main thing, that we know that. Wants people to get comfortable in their whatever situation they're going through. And in a way, with this pause also, it can go both ways. You can either get really excited about the Lord and about step work and about virtual meetings or virtual whatever, but you can also go the other way where you might get a little bit like disconnected from the group, and you might feel like just a little bit like, oh, so I'll watch TV a little bit more, or I'll do this a little bit more. And it's really easy to fall back into old patterns. It's amazing how easy it is. It's crazy. That's why those of us who have this dilemma understand how critical it is. You can be sober for 30 years. And if you use or drink or act out one day, not that those 30 years are gone, but there's a possibility that the addiction can come back even stronger than before and not be able to stop. So that's what I tell people to always consider. Taking time out to feed your soul and your spirit is not a bad thing. It's actually the best thing you can do.
That's so true. And just as a story, I was talking to a friend just a couple days ago, and my friend said that they were feeling temptations they had not felt in years because of the anxiety of the situation that we're in right now and the isolation that he was feeling. And I said, you know what? This is the perfect time for us to make a practice out of texting each other, calling each other, just reaching out and saying, how can I pray for you, brother? How can I pray for you, sister, as we're going through this? But the Lord has given us as a community to one another. It's the power of Celebrate Recovery. It's not that any one of us has got all the wisdom and all the answers. The Lord has all the power, but we are here to encourage each other and support each other, as the New Testament encourages us to do. So, Samir, I want to thank you for your input. And if someone wants to get a hold of you during this time, what are some ways they can do that?
Yes, they can get a hold of me, and absolutely, I will be there to help them in any way that I can, to work with them. I know a lot of people are struggling a little bit or a lot financially, so we will make it available. We will make it happen one way or another. God has given me also this time to dedicate myself to what I always do, but sharing with you, Simon, beforehand, I was also able to mention to you how my mother had passed and how it had been a very difficult, but at the same time, a very important time in my life, because Jesus got to be glorified more than ever in her life and in her being with him now. But I understand sometimes how it is to feel pain inside and anguish, and you don't really know what to do or who to talk to. And sometimes you just need to be able to express something that maybe you couldn't have done to anyone else before. Sometimes to a counselor or a complete stranger makes sense when somebody that we might know does not make any sense. So I just wanted to throw that out there, Simon. Finish it.
That's awesome. Samir, well, thank you for being with us. And, Celebrate Recovery family, we will be just as long as this whole thing goes on. None of us know that. We accept the things we can't change, but we have the courage by God's grace to change the things we can. And that's to stay in touch with one another and stay connected. So really appreciate Samir being with us, and maybe we'll do this again here in the days to come. So Samir, thank you.
You're welcome.